Welcome back to another edition of B4evaKool Podcast. My name is Rex45, and this evening we got the one and only BamBam on the show. Man, thanks for coming on, man. I'm rearing for a good time because anywhere you are, man, it seems to be always a good time. Man, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Not bad. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Nice. Yeah, man. So let's talk. Let's get right into it, man. Let's talk about what was your first exposure to a motorcycle? Were you young like some of these cats, or old like me? How did when did you decide like, hey, I'm gonna go riding, man?
So basically, my dad's had motorcycles since the day I was born,
Okay, then.
and when I was always intrigued by them. It was motorcycles and baseball. And then when I was 4, he came home with my first dirt bike for me, which was probably a little bit too big. It was an old KX80 with
Okay.
the I'd put two-stroke injection. So
Yeah.
you put a two-stroke in a separate bottle, and he used to bring me down right down the road from our house, basically behind a supermarket. There was a kind of an open field, and he would let me rip out there and bring me to my uncle's first, and brought me to my uncle's. We did a few laps around the field,
Yeah.
and he and just said, "Go ahead." And I did good until it was time to stop, and obviously I couldn't even touch the ground at that point, but I've been hooked ever since.
Nice. Now, where did you grow up? To have fields to be able to get to and stuff like that.
Actually, the field I rode in was directly behind Vanson.
Okay. No. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
in Fall River, yes. I
Yeah.
grew up a block away from Vance and Leathers until I was 15.
Okay, wow. So you heard a lot of motorcycles or besides
Yeah,
being
yeah, it was
home.
always, yeah. It was either, like I said, it was either motorcycles or baseball for me. And baseball was a little more because obviously I could play that more often, and Dad worked a lot. But every chance I get, I wanted to be on the motorcycle, the dirt bike, and then he started taking me out on the back of his motorcycle.
Right.
And once I was about 15, I was like, all right, I don't want to be a backpack no more. I want, I want my own. So,
Gotcha. And so what was that bike?
um, actually, they wouldn't let me buy a street bike until I was 25. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was always on the dirt until I was about 25 years old. And, we used to do, woods racing and stuff like that. And, yeah, basically he was like, you're too much of a mental case. So I don't want you on the street. And then finally at 25, he let me buy my first bike. It was an '07 GSXR 600. And um, then I started to learn how to wheelie that on the street. And it was all downhill after that.
Now, you mentioned like doing wood racing. Was it organized? Was it like a bunch of you guys just getting together and just kind of ripping through the woods?
Well, we would do a lot of us, ripping through the woods because we have Freetown State Forest over here, which is just miles upon miles. But we did a few of the Netra things and stuff. And for me, my problem is I would always find the biggest tree in the woods and make sure I hit it as hard as I could. So I've always been pretty injury prone when it came to that.
Gotcha.
So
Well, it sounds like it's not deterring you from riding at all. So.
no, listen, more balls than brains. I think most people realize that with me.
Uh, so 25, you got the street bike. How long did it take you before you started doing track riding, and what was like the street besides the doing the wheelies? What was that like?
So the street was good, when I was younger, obviously the streets weren't as crazy as they were now with everybody on their phone and shit. So, the street riding was cool. And actually my teammate, Kevin Custer,
Mm-hmm.
um, had bought a track bike so we started racing. So I think it was 2015 or 2016.
Okay.
He had and started track riding. And he called me and he was like, you got to come to the track. He's like, you have no idea. And I ended up actually getting a much better job, prevailing wage. So I went on Sport Bike Track Gear and ordered the whole shebang, leathers, boots,
Everything.
everything. And yeah, I went to Tony's Track Days on a GSXR 1000,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, I got my ass handed to me by Bill Murray on a Husqvarna 450.
Right.
I came home and I was like, okay, this is way too much bike for me. And my dealer, which is like a mile down the road, his kid was racing at Loudon, and he did like 3 or 4 rounds on the Triumph.
Mm-hmm.
So my dealer had basically built the bike,
Right.
put it back to street mode. I showed up the day after the track day and said, hey, I need a track bike. And he was like, well, unbeknownst to you, I've got one sitting right here that I literally just put back to street mode. But I mean, he did everything pretty much except for suspension. So
Oh, wow.
I bought that bike, came home. Me and Kev took about 5 hours, ripped it apart, put it back to track mode. And
Yeah.
I think that year I think it was the rest of Tony's. So it was like 6 or 7 track days. And then after that, I've done all of them. So like 30 something track days a year with Tony's.
Oh, wow. Still today.
Yeah. Well, so now I'm not sure. I know you moved back to Florida. So I've actually helped. I don't know how to put. I didn't take over, but I am the Pirelli vendor track days now.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
yeah. So Mike Kurtz kind of came to me at the end of last year over the winter and said, "Hey, man, I don't want to give up the business, but I really need somebody to take over the track day side of it."
Right.
And he was like, I wrote out this whole big thing that I was going to post on Facebook. He's like, and I got to the end and thought of you. He's like, so yeah, so I've taken over tire service at Tony's truck. Well, it's actually Cyclesmith. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
they get mad, but it is Cyclesmith with Paul and Kerry now. And for me, it's greatest organization around. I mean, it's family oriented. You were up here. It's just it's different here. Even at Loudon, it's really family oriented. So I've taken that over. My riding has slacked a little bit because I'm doing the tires.
Right.
But I'm at the racetrack pretty much every weekend from April to October, so I can't beat it.
Right. So, well, let's go back a little bit to go back to where you were getting into starting to come to the track and doing those track days, and then we'll come up to 2023 and 24 where things are now. But yeah, so it sounds like you were doing a lot of track days back in the day, 2015, 2016, and did you start coming to Loudon around the same time?
So I think it was 2017 was my first year at Loudon.
Okay.
I had gotten to a point at Tony's track days where I was an animal, and they basically said to me, "Okay, you're in black group, but you need to learn racecraft. There's some things you really need to learn, and
right.
We need you to tone it down a little bit." So our best advice to you is go to Loudon, go racing, see that there's a whole nother side to this. And it made me realize real quick the top of black group at Cyclesmith is basically you starting at the bottom of the barrel when you get to Loudon.
Right. So would that be your advice to all riders like you who jump on 1,000 and get in the black group, go racing?
Everybody's got a different. I think everybody should experience it, especially if you're doing the track days. I think going racing actually gives you a different mindset when you go back to the track days.
Right.
When you realize the way I explain it to new riders coming in now is I used to play softball a lot, and we basically called it, the Sunday Fun Day League.
Right.
It's a bunch of your friends. You're not going to slide into second base with your cleats up.
Right.
Well, the same thing, go back to the track day. Listen, why dive under a guy or put at a track day when you guys are all there to have fun? Everybody's going to go to work on Monday morning. You save that for racing. If there's 6-inch goal in racing, you put it in there.
Right, exactly.
Track days, you got to back it down and respect your fellow rider. And I'll be honest with you, for a while I didn't have. I was just like, I'm gonna get to the top of black group, but I got to be the fastest guy. And
right.
Yeah, so they were like, you need to tone it down a little.
Right. And your experience, growing up around bikes, so it wasn't like foreign going to like a track day for the first time or even going to the racetrack for the first time. It more probably just felt like home for you.
Yeah, it was definitely, once I got my attitude in check and, the first few years, even at the racetrack, made some decisions, put some posts up online, ruffle some feathers. I mean, I'd walk in the garages and it was like water bugs. Everybody would scatter, and I was like, "Jeez." Nobody, and then I'd have people come up to me and they'd be like, "All right, nobody's looking. I got to talk to you for a couple of minutes, but if anybody sees me, I can't." So I realized real quick, I had to kind of lose that
Right.
aggressive attitude and tone it back a little.
And for those that don't know, I was at Loudon at the same time, so I know some of these incidents and stories, intimately. So that's why I'm laughing about it. So I guess what was the thing that made you say, "Hey, let me pull it together"? What was that?
I got to be honest with you. There's a couple of people from Cycle Smith, Kerry and Paul. Paul was always really quiet. Paul really opened up a lot in the last few years, but I got to be honest with you. Bill Murray, Kerry, Josh Kupik, and believe it or not, Eric Wood.
Okay.
Are just a few of the bigger people that come to mind for me that actually, pulled me aside and said, Bam, you could do, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, and you've got quite the following. If you could just tone it down and reel it in a little bit, you could probably do a lot in the sport. And here I am 7-8 years later, and I hate to say it, I'm like, but I go to the track now and everybody's asking for my opinion.
Right.
I mean, I'm still to this day, I'm still an amateur rider. I'm honestly, I've got some quirks to work out, but people come to me for my advice and what should I do here and what. It's like there's 25 other guys that are on a whole nother level than I am, but
Right.
for some reason everybody comes to me. What should I do? And it's a good feeling realizing, hey man, I can do a lot more for the sport being toned down and reserved
Right.
than wild, out of control little bastard.
Yeah, now you're out of control is having fun. So I mean, you definitely are the life of the barbecues and the parties and the we give out the trophies and stuff like that. You know how to make people laugh.
Oh yeah, for me, a lot of people don't know, but I went through a really bad bout of depression. I don't know, it's been 17, 18 years ago now, and it really gave me a different outlook on life. That saying, check on your happy friends, they're the ones who need it the most.
Right.
I mean, if
Right.
there isn't a truer statement out there, to be honest with you. So for me, man, when I go out, sometimes I need to be reeled in, but I just want everybody to laugh, dude. We don't know today, tomorrow. We all have an expiration date, and there's no need to be sad, or especially with what we do in this sport. And it's not going to pay our bills, man. But I'll be honest with you. For me now, it's 50% of the riding, and 50% of it is the people.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this it's just an incredible community. So
No, I
that's
completely.
where.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, Jesse and Lloyd brought me to the track. It was what I think 2013. I did my first penguin school and got my license. Did a couple of rounds, and then I didn't start doing all the rounds until 15. And I grew up in Dorchester and stuff, and we weren't used to going to the tracks. We didn't know, like I didn't know that was a thing to even go and race. And I grew up in cars, so I was always was one of those kids on 93 or whatever, wilding out racing old people or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So I got to the track later in life, and being there now, being in it now, 10, 11 years. Yeah, the community is the best part of it. You know what I mean? And you get to do something you really enjoy doing. But like the people you meet, the people you talk to, after the week, the race is over and we all hanging out, cooking and eating and chopping it up. The memories that you have that not to say you can't get in other places, but it's rare.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, you have Troy on here a lot, and I love Troy to death, man. There's somebody that I probably never would have met if it wasn't from racing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And two totally different backgrounds, obviously, but what a great kid just people like him that I wouldn't have met, obviously randomly, like you said, there's other things to do, but the different cultures and personalities and everything that you meet at the tracks, and it's just, and for me, I'm thankful that it was up here because we travel up and down the East Coast and everything, and I mean, it's just not the same down in Florida as it is up here with the community. You
Right.
break your bike, fellow competitors like, here, take the parts off my B bike because I don't want to go out and win that race if you're not going to be in it. I want
Right.
to earn it.
Yeah.
You go to Florida and they're chomping at the bit. They're like, oh yeah, I get a chance to win because that guy's not in the race now.
Yeah.
So
Listen, I've seen the buddy system where guys that's not even in your race slowing you down, just to help a friend out.
yeah, exactly. It's crazy. It's crazy. It really is. It's like, I get it. Some of these guys take this way too serious. And I'll be honest, I did in the beginning too, but some of them, it's way too serious. It's like, hey, man, this is a plastic trophy at the end of the day.
Right.
There's no big check. There's no, Marquez, Grassini team behind, paying you, all these sponsors on the bike. I mean, we've got sponsors and stuff, but it's, hey, here's a discount on some parts or here's a discount on some gear and stuff. It's not, for me, it's like, hey, man, I had just as much fun this year watching a couple of my fellow competitors that, garage is over from me and,
Right.
was like, oh man, just can't get it together, Bam. Like, and now he's winning the amateur dash for cashes, Nick Paganis, and
Yeah. Yeah.
his first win 2 rounds ago. I was up in turn 12. I told Meg, I got to get on the bike. I went down there. And I can't believe I'm going to admit this on camera, but me and him shed a tear together while I was putting a stand on his bike at
Right.
the winning circuit, waiting for the expert dash to get over. But I was just as excited to see him finally break through and have the race that I knew he could do. So that's a big part of it is seeing other people succeed, and just like I said, I may not be the fastest guy there, but just being able to help somebody and say, this is what I see. You're
Right.
doing this, or that, and then all of a sudden they have that breakthrough, and you're like, wow, this is incredible. Like, it's awesome to see my fellow friend win a race.
Yeah,
So
that is the beautiful part about one of the beautiful things is that we are excited for other riders. I know there's a competitive side of things on the guys that are and gals that are really fast and want to go more than the club racing kind of thing. But for most of us, just competing with each other is the best part of it, and talking about it afterwards and stuff like that. And you mentioned helping your friend out and seeing that result that he's had and been able to have because like again, it happens in most sports and most things in life. There's adversity that you have to get over and go through and stuff like that. And where in racing is kind of a singular, sport like tennis or golf and stuff like that. So you're always kind of stuck in your own head. So it's always nice to, and then like you mentioned, you don't have a crew of people around you to, that's there to track with you. So it's usually you're relying on another rider or something like that. So having that and being able to see that, man, is like you said, you mentioned, shedding a tear. I mean, that's one of the best things about it. Like I said, Jesse brought me to the track. I bought his bike. He gave me a deal on it. I brought Troy to the track. I gave him a deal on my bike. It's like, you pass it forward and you show love. And, I got to go race with Troy. I had to go race with Jesse, you know what I'm saying? So, that's something that, coming into the sport, I didn't have, the first 30 plus years of my life.
yeah, no, I agree. As a matter of fact, speaking of Troy, I mean, last year there was a few times where he was like, oh man, he's like, I went out on a used shag tire, and you know, me and Ian went over a couple. I bought him a tire. I was
Right,
like, hey,
right.
listen. I told Mike, don't even say nothing. And then Mike's like, well, I can't just tell him come over and get a tire. So, and he was like, oh, you didn't. And I'm like, no. I'm like, but you know what? You're right there, but you're on a shag tire. Here's a fresh tire. Come
Right.
on out. I want to look over in turn one and see you on the side of me. And then this winter I had a stack of tires, and I called him and I said, hey, when you get a day, come down to the house. And I think he left here with 16, 18 tires
Oh,
that he's
wow.
been running the season.
Right,
A
right.
bunch of tapes, plenty of life left on him, track day stuff. But he just showed up to Palmer a few weeks ago with a buddy of his that he brought to the track day,
Yeah, yeah.
he's passing it on to the. And that's what we got to do. This sport is, it's hanging on by a thread right now, and we got to get as many people as we can, and it gets a lot of these young guys too. that may be in a bad, gets them off the street, and it
Right.
gives them a place to unleash all that. Where even if they hit the ground, they're geared up, and the odds of being run over by a car are zero out there. We're all going the same way. And
Right.
obviously, someone go down, it's not, you're going to do everything you can to avoid them.
Right.
So
Generally.
it's definitely a much better place than, like you said, like 93, or for us down here, 295 up in, Providence and stuff, where
Right.
we're out there doing things on the road that I won't admit to here, but I mean, there's a reason I don't ride on the street anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I,
And I also, mentioned that was something I saw when going to the track. How many, riders once they started racing, don't ride on the street anymore. And that's the part that's crazy. But before you touch on that, yeah, I see the videos and stuff like that of guys essentially drag racing and gals drag racing and stuff like that, and they'll be in shorts and a t-shirt, and some of them, and it's just, I don't know if it's a young thing, or just there's certain riders, like even the Harley guys and some of these chopper guys that they just got a half helmet if it's a state requirement, or no helmet, no nothing, and they just feel like if I go down, I go down. It is what it is. Any thoughts on that?
yeah, I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you. When I first started street riding and everything, even at 25, and you know, you kind of have that thought, I'm invincible. It's not going to happen to me, right? Like, I know what I'm doing. And, I've been on a bike my whole life. Well, I went from the dirt to the street, and it was a whole eye-opening experience. It's a completely different style of riding.
Mm-hmm.
You're leaning the bike, you're not turning it and sliding the rear end. And, I did a lot of that. But I'll be honest with you, I crashed my dirt bike on the street about 4 houses up from my house, literally riding a wheelie, and I clicked it into fifth gear. The seat came unlocked because we had been riding the weekend before, and I took the air filter out, and I took my whole ass cheek off,
Oh man.
literally from all the way. Two tendons hanging out. They wanted to skin graft me, and thankfully, I had just picked up my jewelry from my friend's house, and I had my bracelet on. Or the doctor said I more than likely would have lost my arm.
Oh no.
The bracelet, I've got a pretty dark spot on my arm, but the bracelet kept my arm just enough off the ground that
Oh
it
wow.
didn't move enough. So, and I'll be honest with you, after that, I would wear a leather jacket, but I really didn't have no like leg protection, or, um, if we were in Rhode Island and we were going to like Coal State Park, I would take the helmet off, but I try not to ride without the helmet on. I mean, that's probably your most important piece of gear.
Right.
But I can understand, especially like you're in Florida, it's 100 degrees out. Who wants to get fully suited up to go sit in traffic? And the thought process, it's not going to happen to me, right? That's usually what we all think.
Right.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so was it easy? So for my first point, was it easy for you to just say once you got to the track, I'm done with street riding, and just or did you kind of do a little bit of both for a little bit?
Yeah, so I still rode the street for a while. We had a group back down here. We would go out 60, 70, sometimes 80 bikes deep. We called it the South Coast Invasion. And we just go to different meetup spots, grab a bunch of bikes, and then
Oh
we'd
wow.
go to like we'd call a place and be like, hey, there's going to be 60 or 70 of us, and we'd show up. They'd give us front row parking. We'd all go in, eat dinner together, whatever, hang out, and then back in, I believe it was 2013, I want to say, or something,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little bit later. But I got caught riding a wheelie on the street by a state trooper that I grew up with, and long story short, he treated it like a murder case. Sent an immediate threat to the registry. They took my CDL away. They took everything away, and he fought it for over 2 years. And
What did you do to him in high school, man?
yeah, right. Like, and I mean, we were young and I mean, he used to have street bikes and everything, but he was new on the force,
Right.
and he went. I mean, even his captain was like, I've been in police chases throughout my career and never sent an immediate threat to the registry on someone.
Right.
But yeah, after that, I rode for a year or two, and it just got to a point where it's like every ride on the street literally felt like I was dodging losing my life. It wasn't even enjoyable no more. Even the
Right.
back road flooded with people on their phones, and it just got to a point where I was like, I know what these bikes are capable of now on the racetrack, and riding on the street, if I'm not on one wheel, I'm trying to go around an exit as fast as I can, and we all know what the outcome of both of those is going to bring. It's either jail or death. So
Right.
I was
Right.
just, the more money I can have for the track, and if I sell this bike, I can buy another, a B bike and
Yeah.
everything
Right.
else. Yeah, just gave up the street, and do I miss it? Yeah, sometimes I do, but there's nothing like going to the track, sliding that helmet on, and being able to just go out there and let the bike as fast as you can get it on the track is
Right.
what you can.
Yes.
So
Nice. And so you mentioned now you're doing Pirelli tire service at Cycle Smith. Is this in the last couple of years kind of thing you started doing, and was that an easy decision to say I'll cut back on my track days and help Mike out?
So it was last year, and so basically the RSP guys, the garage that Mike normally shares with, which is why they all started it. It was a buddy of theirs that passed away. I hope this is right, but I believe his name was Reed St. Pierre. Mhm. But a lot of them last year, I don't want to say they disbanded, but like Bill moved away, Wesley moved away, Rick Ma, family building a new house and stuff. And so basically there was nobody left. And the guy, Brendan, who was helping Mike out, I think he's gotten an opportunity to go be an instructor with Cycle Smith.
Gotcha.
So Mike was kind of at a point where he was like, I got nobody to help me. And so it started off, helping at the track a little bit, changing a tire here, changing a tire there. And I didn't think that it was as entailed as it was when I
Mm-hmm.
took it on. I mean, it was my first year. My riding time definitely suffered, but honestly, they were looking for some stability. And I can't tell you how many people from Cycle Smith and, even Paul and Kerry and the staff and everybody were just every event, how thankful they were. Oh, to have the stability of the tire service every weekend and every track day. And so, that was a good thing. I may not be riding as much, but I'm helping out in the
Right.
community
Right.
that I'm in. So it was like, what? It was kind of I've had some thoughts over the season, like, what do I do going forward? But honestly, I think going forward next year, I'll do the same thing. It's just, I have a better understanding of it now. And,
Right.
I'll do more riding going forward. I just have to focus on stop trying to please. We put time schedules together now. Because in the beginning I just wanted to please everybody. Oh, I'll change tires till 10 o'clock at night.
Right. Right.
There's a schedule, and at least I'm going out on track for 15 minutes. When I get back, leave the tire there with a sticky note, and I'll take care of it.
Right. Right. There you go. That's what's up, man. That's dope. And you're mounting the tires and changing and doing all that.
Yeah, doing it all, and like I said, I mean, it's helped me out too. Mike takes care of me, so I get to ride at the track days, and there's a little bit of financial gain to it for me. So, it works around. It works out all around. To be honest with you, it really does. And I mean, me and Mike, I can't say enough about Mike Kurtz. I mean, even when I rode the Continentals for over 3 years, he I would bring the tires over. He would mount the Contis on my rims. Never gave me. He was like, "Hey, just whenever you're ready, I'll be here with the Pirellis when you want to come back to a real tire." But it was never like he was never upset with me. He was like, "Hey,
Right.
I understand. You're gonna try it. You got a little bit better of a deal and whatever." But I mean, I put the Pirelli back on. Was it round 5 of last year?
Okay.
And it was instant 17s, like just it was just like, okay, I got to go back to the Pirelli. And but like I said, I can't say enough about Mike. He has been a great friend to me for many years now, and I appreciate everything he's done for me.
Nice. That's what's up, man. Yeah, we'll shout out his Instagram and stuff towards the end of the show. Let's talk about the Triumphs you got in the back there, man. I mean, have you raced another bike besides Triumph? And since the dealer sold you a Triumph, were you into triples before that, or?
To be honest with you, I had no clue. All I knew was The 1000 was too much bike for me.
Yeah.
And when I got there, he was like, "Oh yeah," and we fired it up, and it's got that whistle with the the 3-cylinder. I didn't know it was a three. To be honest with you, I knew nothing about them. I knew that they were sexy looking bikes. I liked the styling of them, and I really knew nothing about them. And he sold me that one, and I got to be honest with you, for what we ride up here in these more technical short tracks, you really can't beat them. I mean, the torque that these bikes make, and just the power delivery, and once we get them set up, I mean, especially because of Ian Beam, I mean, he's got these bikes so dialed in now with suspension. It's just, I take his measurements, I add my fat boy springs to it, and the bike's fully capable of doing what Ian's doing on it. It just needs a better pilot, to be honest with you. So yeah, now I got two of them. I've got I bought a Moto 2 now, a 765, then
how do you like riding that?
So that's a great bike. I love it. A little bit more. Well, it used to be a little bit more power. We had the motor built in the 675 last year for this year, and man, that bike's a monster now. But the Moto 2 is throttle by wire.
Okay.
And it's taken me. It's weird. We have our good days, and the throttle is so light. There's no resistance from the cables or nothing.
Got you.
So it's very hard for me. I just want to ham fist it, but there's no resistance. So
right.
That new Pirelli tire makes a big difference. Let me tell you.
So now, do you race the 7.6, the Moto 2, or do you race the 675? Or kind of depends if it's raining or not.
Well, I was racing the Moto 2, and then last year, I don't know, John Grush got some bad information somewhere, and basically came to me and Ian and said, I have to make the Moto 2 illegal because I can't have, the classic and people showing up here with, 150, 160 horsepower, 765s. And we were like, John, we did the homework for him and tried to show him that it's not the case. But in the end, he ultimately decided that the 765 was just not middleweight legal anymore. So in turn, I took the 675, sent that out, had a 2 mil board done to it, so it's a 711 now.
Okay.
But it's polished cams, degree, everything that can be done, race fuel. And the funny part is that bike makes almost 5 more horsepower than my stock Moto 2 does now.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of one of those things. It's like, you got rid of that bike, but the motor I had built actually makes more power than the other motor. But hey, whatever. I just reached out to him, and I'm hoping, because all the other organizations, Florida and everywhere else, the 765 is the standard for the triple and middleweight.
Right.
So I'm hoping he's going to revisit it over the winter, and even I don't know that the Super Sport class, was weird now. Now they're doing the 959 with the Moto American Electronics and, the Gixxer 750.
Right.
So it's like, I think at some point, especially now that new R9's coming out and stuff, I think it's got to be revisited. Maybe it's not Super Sport legal. Maybe we only allow it for like the Grand Prix and and the stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, they're gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah, so I'm hoping he revisits it over this. I just reached out to him a couple days ago, and was like, hey, can maybe we can relook at this and come to some sort of So we'll see what happens. I mean, every other organization, it is legal. Even across the country, it's not like it's just the East Coast. It's pretty much from here to California that that's considered a middleweight bike now.
Wow.
So,
and did you notice any difference between the two frames and the chassis between the?
So I ended up finding out it's same frame, same swing arm, chassis, suspension. Literally, all they did was they dropped that that 765 motor in there, and then put a different throttle body on it, so it's throttle by wire instead of the throttle by cable, and that's it. That's literally it's not. Nothing else is different. So for me, it's great because I can go from one bike to the other bike and they're literally almost identical except for the throttle itself.
Okay, that's what's up, man. No, I see you have someone back and forth besides that dog walking back and forth working on the bike. I know who she is, but do you want to tell people who she is? And she also races.
Yeah, come on, say hello real quick.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing? How things?
I'm doing well. Can't complain. Getting ready to head down to North Carolina and Daytona to ride my motorcycle.
It's nice. For a quick little interview with you. How long you been riding and racing, and how did you get so lucky with BamBam?
So I've been actually riding a motorcycle for 15 years.
Wow.
Ironically, the group that BamBam was talking about riding with South Coast Invasion and just meeting up and going on, 60, 70 deep rides, having a good night with friends on the bikes.
Yep.
I met him from that. Like minds, we met from motorcycles. We have such a love for motorcycles that it just really is a great thing to experience with your partner.
Oh, that's awesome. I know everyone watching this is going to be jealous because usually folks are not going to the track with their partners and both of them are jumping on a bike. So that's pretty awesome. And how do you like going to the track and racing?
Oh, I love going to the track. He started just the year before me in 2016 at Cycles. It was Tony's track days then.
Yeah.
I started the very following season in 2017. I went out, my first street bike was a 2001 Honda CBR F4i 600.
Yeah.
And I loved her on the street. I rode her for one day at Palmer. I had a 2-day weekend at Palmer. And it was just like, I need me a track bike. This baby can't handle this stuff. I need to get me something. Here you go. Here's my wallet. Throw all my money at it. I need me a new bike for this.
Oh.
And BamBam already had his hook up with the Triumph, so I just went on it and I've loved it.
And that was it. The rest was history.
It sure was. Then it just went into racing. That only started in 2020. I had a couple of bad crashes at Loudon that really sort of threw me for a loop. So I've been getting back at it, slowly chipping away.
Right.
You might as well put in the big kicker from the other night from the dinner.
So what happened the other night at the dinner?
What happened?
So Miss Pebbles or Miss Megan over here, actually, we had our end of the year dinner with Cyclesmith this past Saturday.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised. So we were talking. So let's just say that there's pictures floating to me around the internet that you may be.
BamBam was a girl for an evening.
Oh, I dressed up as a lady. I had the wig, the dress, the whole nine. It was. It still seems to be the talk of the town.
You lost the bet or something?
No, one of a guy we met actually from Cyclesmith. His name's Matt, and he had an accident 2 weeks before at Palmer on his brand new Aprilia, and unfortunately the bike burnt to the ground. There's nothing left of it, and he broke his leg and had to have surgery. But basically, I told him, you show up to, they were calling it Moto Prom, the dinner. I said to him, you show up in a tuxedo. I said, and I'll show up as your date in a dress. And, because he was a little down and out. So I was like, what? And he was like, you. And I'm like, I know I've only known you about a year, buddy, but let me tell you, if you promise me you will show up in a tuxedo, I promise you I'll show up with a dress and a wig and the whole nine. So, needless to say, he showed up. He didn't have his tux on because they had just put a new cast on.
Right.
But he was still all smiles, and I found out there's a lot more creepier old men at Cyclesmith than I thought was. But anyway, going back to what we were getting to, actually, Meg won the grand prize this year at the raffle for ride free all of Cyclesmith's track days next year.
Oh, there you go. That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up indeed. Oh man, that's awesome. So I guess you got your schedule for next year between Loudon and Cyclesmith.
I am. I'm just waiting for them to. They said it's going to be pretty close to this year, but just waiting on finalized dates. They have gotten Club Motorsports on their package now, so they're hoping for a two-day event with them, which would be to ride there at the cost that it is, and that's just part of my ride free all year. I'm just going to get crazy seat time, and I can't wait for it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm hoping to do a lot of track days next year, and I'm hoping to be up in New England a lot more often next year if I can, to do some track days. Before I let you go, you mentioned going down to Daytona in a couple of weeks. You want to tell the folks what it's like racing on that track?
I don't know how to. I was telling Ian, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's the most exhilarating thing I've ever done." I mean, where else can you go and hold a sport bike, whether it be a 600, a 4? I don't care. I mean, I after last year, I thought about buying a 1000 just to go back there. I mean, I think between the two banks, you're almost about what 40, 50 seconds of wide
open.
WFO,
Oh yeah.
2 inches from the top of the wall, I mean, like I said at the beginning, more balls than brains. So they were like, well, you could stay mid-track. I wanted to get as close to that wall,
Oh, wow.
Brent was telling me the closer you get, it breaks the it breaks that. So, I mean, and you could literally touch the wall with your elbow, and I don't know. It's
an experience.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I assume you felt the G-force pushing you down, coming back out the Outer Banks to the start finish.
Oh,
you can't even lift your head.
Yeah.
You need to look straight, and you're just counting the flags. You see that third flag, you got to prepare to dive down, and man, it is a feeling.
Yeah, I think the biggest. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think the biggest thing for me there was the draft. Everybody talks about the draft,
right?
But until you experience it that first time, because the draft is not like when you watch NASCAR where you got to be 6 inches off the guy. You're 150 yards. You feel like you're a half a track away, and then all of a sudden you're literally on them, and you're like, "Oh my God, time for an evasive maneuver!" Because you believe how quickly I just closed on this guy.
Oh yeah.
So,
I was gonna say, for me, the first time, I almost stopped when I got to the Outer Banks. I was like, can I really ride on that like that? I was like in second gear and was slowing down. I was like, you got to keep going, else you'll fall right down the damn thing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, it's when you're at the top and you're looking down, man. You almost feel like you're knee down in a corner.
Yeah.
Even though
you just lean your head a little bit to turn. That's it.
You're like me. You're a taller guy. I mean, when I'm hunchbacking my neck's crook to try and get behind that windscreen and everything, you're like she said. It's a good thing you only need to really be looking straight, because anything else at that, it's just.
I'm just gonna put on my bike here, my double bubble windscreen.
That's why.
Aerodynamics.
Yeah, that was another thing. You don't realize how big the aero is down there. I'm just changing windscreen last year after talking to Brandon Posh was a 4 mile an hour difference.
Oh wow!
Just from a windscreen, it was. I was like, I can't get above 160, or and at that point I was down in the lower 150s. 154 was like. And I put the windscreen on, and 158, 159. I mean, I never saw above 160.
Yeah.
But now we knew that they, fixed the clutch issue, tightened up the bodywork and stuff. And like I said, Cyclesmith couldn't have last year and this year. They are doing NC bike on Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
Sleep, wake up Wednesday, finish the drive to Daytona, and then ride Daytona Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So. It's just,
someone is doing a Ducati Revs Day down there on the Monday after Daytona racing. So even if you don't have a race license, you can do the practice, you can stay and watch racing, and then you get to do another track day.
Right. Now, it is Biketoberfest as well. You going to bring that dress with you, Bam Bam?
I don't know, man. Like I just said, after the attention I got from some of the more. I'm not going to out them here, but they know who they are. Right. One of them's got a picture of him kissing me, and I mean, I guess you can't get. So Ken Condon laid a big one on me, and a few of the other older gentlemen. I was quite shy. Oh man, I got to be careful if I wear this dress again, because I got more like in that night than I have in 6 months.
Meg is either going to be your pimp or your bodyguard, man.
Yeah, you got that right. She had to hold my hair back because I couldn't even eat because I was eating the hair. I'm like, how do you guys do this shit? Oh, it was a riot, man. It really was.
Oh man, that sounds like a good time. Now, did you guys get to go out to Biketoberfest or do any hanging out while you're at Daytona?
Yeah, you know what it is once again, it's the fan. We went out, go down to Main Street, go down to the beach and stuff, but that's a whole different. It's a
Yeah,
whole different crowd, right?
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Neither one of us are partiers. I mean, this is my drink. I've got enough money to go racing and the toy hauler and the trucks and shit like that,
yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll take a ride up there, but honestly, hanging at the track with with like-minded people and cooking we always do the big dinners at my trailer every round allowed, and it's my trailer. It's usually the same menu every round. It's chicken, Friday night, steak Saturday night, but
Yeah, yeah.
now we've
You
been
got a
going.
group of 20 people that are going there
Yeah,
down to Daytona. That it's like we want to be down there with all our friends.
Right,
yeah.
right. No, I got that for sure. Yeah, that's right. You said you got like there's like around 20, 27 people coming from up
So
north.
I think the last time we checked, I think we're somewhere. It just depends on the last few, but I think we're somewhere anywhere from like 16 to 22 guys are coming down, and then there's a bunch of other people that are planning on coming down to just hang out, support,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so it's man. It seems like the homestead thing. You know how it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody pack the trailer up. Bam Bam and Leroy would drag it down to Homestead. I should say Leroy. I mean, but he had to go and get that ankle bracelet put on him. So he put that wedding ring on. It's all over. We lost another good one. We
Yeah.
lost another.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, no, I agree. It was cool, driving down and I mean, for me, unfortunately, now it's only like a 3 hour drive, 3.5 hour drive. But even driving, I think it was like Lloyd and I went down. I think last year before, and brought the bike down and stuff like that. And it's such a different atmosphere at Daytona in general. Because I mean, you gotta get a pass to get in, and it feels not to say that not Loudon doesn't feel like a huge event and stuff like that, but it's like it's like almost like the All-Star game, right?
Man.
You know what I mean? And it's really cool to see. I remember when CCS and Azure had the Daytona race. What is it, 200? That was cool
Yeah.
because they would race on Saturday, so you could go out a little bit. I mean, obviously you could watch the race, but 67 laps. You could go out and kind of enjoy the city a little bit more. So now that's not happening with CCS and Azure. It's just more straight on racing. So, but it's unfortunate I'm gonna miss it this year, but next year for sure I'm gonna be back.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, definitely. I was, hoping to see you, but also we've got a matter of fact, I'll send you an invite when we're done with this. But we've got a Jennings Facebook group that
Okay.
uh, last couple of years we've been doing. We rented multiple days, and we do a private days, and there's only 15 of us, and
Okay.
it's it's all pretty much advanced or expert, amateur advanced, basically black group riders,
Right.
and we do 15 guys, and it's wide open track for 8 hours. And man, everybody's like, "Oh, why don't you do it?" It's perfect. I mean, you can go out on Jennings and not see somebody else for 3, 4, 5 laps.
Right.
It's like
Right.
you got to bring a pallet of tires with you because it's like 2 sessions flip, 2 sessions flip, throw it in the barrel.
Continental.
So, but yeah, I mean, we do a lot of that. I'll be
Yeah.
down there. Waiting to see what the Azure CCS is for the Homestead.
Right.
But
Right.
I heard Pan American kind of took over Homestead. So, but our Continental dealer, she's still running them. You know, he's Monkey Work Cycles. He's at all your
Okay.
Pan American
Yeah.
series
Yeah.
races of 1,000. But so if we're down there and they happen to have a race weekend, we'll end up showing up. Was it last year or 2 years ago? We went to the Homestead event with him,
Right.
and it just poured the whole weekend. I never got on track once because it was just like, oh, it's your turn to go out. It's going to rain again.
Man.
So,
Throw rain tires on and go.
yeah, my thing with Homestead is those patches, man. Those patches, even in the dry, it's taken me. We've been there multiple times, and then patches are such a mental mind for me.
Oh,
It's
same here. Earlier in January, because I raced there in the Pan American Series, and it rained the whole time, and that was the first time. Like, I think in December I did a track day there, so I was able to like ignore it the most. But like with downpour rain was the first time I ignored those squares and just rode through them.
yeah,
And
and
it feels so weird. It feels so weird on the tire contact.
Yeah, and that's what it was. I mean, my first year there, everybody was like, "Oh, even in the morning, and when you go out and there's dew on the track, you don't want to touch them squares, both tires at the same time." And, so it was already put in your head like those squares are like, that if you touch them, you crash. That's
Right,
kind of what we did. So for me, it was just like, all right, I don't want to touch these, but trying to get inside of them at pace, you've got all of 12, 13 inches to hit your mark. So, I mean, you've got to be precise if you don't want to touch them. So, yeah, it definitely affected me the first few times we went there. And it's like, then eventually, like you said, you just got to start rolling over and you kind of realize, all right, they're not so bad.
No doubt.
But mentally, visually wise, it's just, it was tough.
Oh yeah, that I'll say that, and just bumps. Who was it? Was it Talladega? I think it was Talladega. Some of the corners were really bumpy, and when I first got out there, I was just going over it gingerly and stuff like that. And after a while, I was just blowing right over them and just gotten used to it. But just the bike being unsettled in a turn like that, it took me a little bit to get comfortable.
Yeah, well, and I mean, for you probably had a leg up too. I mean, coming from Loudon, that's basically a supercross track on cement. But when you go to Florida, I mean, everything you've done with suspension wise up here, when you go to Florida, you take that all out. There's no more 10 turns of preload and a heavy spray. You get rid of all that.
Right.
I mean, the only hills there are in Florida is if you run over an anthill. There's no elevation change.
There's a little bit. Homestead for me took a little while to get used to with the patches and stuff like that, and then the bumps with Talladega and stuff. So I'm going to take what you said under advice, loosen up the suspension a little bit, because maybe that might be my problem.
Yeah, like I said, we're so used to that whole Loudon setup. I mean, go down south and it's like, oh, I took all the preload out, and it's like, oh wow, I could actually take a whole spring rate out.
Right.
But you come back, we've been working with Tim Hogan from Superbike Services 44, and man, he's really been, he's got a little bit different approach than Peter Cates did, and a little on the side with a little more, air gap, more oil, less oil. Man, he's been phenomenal. I mean, and the results are showing. I mean, everybody up here is flying, and he's just been great to deal with. But like I said, you go to Florida, it's like you can take all that preload out. I'm calling him, I'm like, hey, Tim, what do I do? And he's like, you're on a normal track. He's like, take it all out. Change the spring rate if you have to. So
right. I gotta start playing with the wrenches.
Yeah.
So before I let you go, though, man, I want you to shout out your sponsors and your Pirelli situation, for lack of a better word.
Sure. So definitely, like I said, none of this would be possible without, Cyclesmith, Track Days, Paul, Kerry, all their staff, man, has gotten me to where I'm at. But, Monkey Works Cycles, shout out to Eric from Monkey Works Cycles in Daytona Beach, Florida. Man, there's, Penguin Road Racing School. Well, yeah, Mike Kurtz with GoMTag.com, and Pirelli. Tim Hogan, Superbike Services 44, has been huge. Old man Tony Laproto comes out to every race round for me and has just helped me mentally. But Eric Wood, Vincent Leathers, Mike Wyatt. I mean,
these just look good.
Yeah, REB Graphics, Innovative Motorsport. There's just so many people.
Right.
Am I missing anything? Yeah, Boston.
We have an army behind us.
Boston Road Auto.
Bosch Racing.
Yeah, definitely Anthony Corbo. I mean, without him.
Right. Yeah.
These bikes are dialed in because of Anthony.
Yeah.
Motor-wise, tune-wise, but.
Shaw Motors.
Yeah, Jamie Hanshaw built me an incredible motor. Things been bulletproof. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Jeez. Even though sometimes he's my least favorite guy, thanks to John Grush for, continuing to keep Niemer alive and running and doing what he does, with Noel and everybody.
Right.
The corner work is, and another big one that I can't forget, and everybody should, give them a shout now because they're back in the game strong. Vortex Racing. They've put a lot of new products this year, and my buddy Josh Dyer has become their head engineer, and they've got the next few months they're going to have a massive drop, but they've got a lot of great products now, and they really take care of me. I can't thank them enough. So, but yeah, I think that's it. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. I'm sure once we hang up, I guess I got to give a shout out to my boo Ian Beam. Ian Beam, Jesse, the whole group. We miss you in that garage, and those are my boys right there. Even though the first time I met Lloyd, he was like, I didn't like you very much. It's a good thing he likes me now, because he could probably put a hurting on me.
Right. Yeah, Lloyd is a big dude. Yeah, I'm hoping to be up there next year. I have the KTM's up in getting service up that way now, and I think I'm just going to leave them up there and try to do some track day, try to race at Loudon next year when I'm up there. I'm hoping to schedule work out, because I have to come to Boston about once a month for work and stuff like that. So I'm hoping, it works out where I can come at a Loudon race weekend, fly in and just drive the bikes up and then just fly back down.
Man, that'd be awesome. Well, you always got a place, whether it's in your original garage, our garage. You're always welcome when you come up here, man.
That's what's up. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate BamBam from coming on. I want to thank you, and Meg as well, for coming in and talking a little bit. And we're gonna have to get you your own episode so everyone can get to know you as well. Thank you both for coming on.
Up and coming.
Oh man.
Yeah, thanks again for having me, man. I appreciate it. I tried to be as verbally nice as I could